again. So I'm doing dishes. Okay, I'm wearing. Oh, I kind of moved. I have to charge my phone. So anyway, I'm wearing my YouTube sweater. It's from my other channel, from the YouTube Shirts channel. But I love this sweater. Yeah, it's kind of a holiday sweater, but I'm like, I can wear it year round. I wear what I like when I like. Some people are like, oh, that's seasonal. You can only wear it then. I have a Christmas tree soap dispenser because I realized something. This channel still called California Mountain Art and Life. I don't feel as attached to the San Bernardino Mountains anymore, but I still live at the base of the San Bernardino Mountains. So I still think about pine trees, although I think about palm trees more lately. But I love both palm and pine, you know? So I'm a little bit of both, right? Quintessentially, I am. But anyway, I want to talk about some things just as I unload the dishwasher. So I feel like it's just so popular in life in general and on YouTube for people to love to tell other people what they should be doing. And I find that just so negative. Like, it doesn't make, in my opinion, it doesn't make the world a better place when you tell somebody something just rude. Like, for instance, there's a lot of, I do art on this channel, but like I said, doing art takes a little bit more time to get yourself going. And I would, if I had time like that, I do art every day. But like I've said before, is a politician or a celebrity going to come clean your house? No. So a big part of my channel is cleaning inspiration because I love to have a clean house. And having a clean house is really important. Like, so much of your health depends on having a clean environment. And I don't think people realize that in the past, not being clean led to a lot of diseases and germs and things, and during COVID even. So being clean is a good thing. Keeping your space clean is beautiful. And some people just don't get that. And they're like, oh, like, I should just do this and that. And they don't take it seriously. Or, like, they don't seem to realize that there's literally channels here on YouTube that are just about cleaning. Like, there's literally channels on this platform and on TikTok where people just clean, and that's their entire content. So this is my multi-purpose, multi-use channel. I love that expression. You know, Vivian tries. You have to watch her channel. She's fun. She's the one that talks about how Dollar Tree products are multi-purpose, multi-use. Well, I think that's a great expression. You should go watch Vivian Try's channel because she has a lot of really cool things that she shares on that channel, like that you can find on at the Dollar Tree. I love the Dollar Tree, by the way. And one of her things, she's always like, it's multi-purpose, multi-use. Well, this YouTube channel of mine is multi-purpose, multi-use. It's my everything channel where I just share a little bit about my daily life. Like, I share a little bit of everything that I'm doing at the time because I'm not one of these curated brands. Like, some people, they're a curated brand. Like, their channel is a brand and they have a certain image that they want to portray. But I'm just myself every day. I love being Julia. I just want to do things that make me happy. I just want to post things that make me happy. I just want to be Julia. I don't want to be a brand. I want to be a person. And I'm thinking in this economy, or any economy really, I'm kind of glad that I've always gone with that approach because right now people are like, oh no, recession core and having to consume less. But maybe just consume what you want. Like, I don't get it. Like, this whole like, oh no, all of a sudden. Like, and then, okay, I'll start with the cleaning criticism. Like, this one lady told me, oh, why are you so proud of doing laundry? And I just deleted her comment. Because I know that YouTube and TikTok, they just love that environment where people just, like, want to criticize somebody. So here's my criticism back. If you don't like somebody's content, like, if somebody's posting something, like, for instance, to me, it'd be weird if I went to a football live stream and I started like posting comments like, you're so proud of doing football. Nobody said they're proud. Like, it's just something I enjoy doing. Like, it's a form of entertainment and relaxation for me. You know what I'm proud of doing? Being a kind person. But you know what that person might want to work on? The person that just wrote that comment? Being a kinder person. Like, are you proud? Like, And sometimes in the moment, I'm not like one of these people that just has comebacks for people that are kind of snarky or just mean-spirited. But if I could have said something to that person, because I'm more of an introvert, and introverts, we don't thrive off like confrontation. Like some people just love confrontation culture. I don't. I could have said, oh, so I guess you're not really proud of being a kind person. Like, you could have said that back. But there's no point, really. I just think, let's delete those comments. And in real life, when people are doing things like that, let's just ignore and not say anything, because there's no point. Some people will just never be happy. But I do believe people who did those things in their life, then and now, in any context, that they're suffering from some sort of emotional trauma that they experienced as a child because their parents didn't treat them right, emotionally abused them in some way, or somebody else in their life did that was an adult. And because people that grew up in emotionally stable, emotionally healthy environments, they are not brash, they're not cruel. And of course everybody's going to disagree, but the hallmarks of being an emotionally healthy person is that you're respectful and you have a respectful dialogue with people, kind of like the British Prime Minister with Zelensky, and not like what Trump did with Zelensky. Like, if you're emotionally healthy, if you're emotionally regulated, you're not going to do something like that. And I was just thinking about that whole debacle that happened on Friday. To me, that's just quintessential gaslighting. Like, I feel like his supporters, like, they're going hard on TikTok. They're like, oh yeah, well, Zelensky really started the war in Russia. Oh my gosh, guys, are you like living to support this man? Like, is he gonna come to your house and balance your checkbook? Is Donald Trump cleaning your house? Is he making your house payment? Why are you going so hard for this man? Like, Trump basically ceded our diplomacy and our national security to Russia. And this is very problematic. Like, it's so problematic, and for many, many reasons. First off, Canada, England, the European Union nations, those are our key allies. Why are we throwing them under the bus for Russia, which doesn't give a whoop-de-doodles about anybody? And here's an example. They don't care. They invade countries willy-nilly. They've done it. Russia has a track record. I'm not saying the U.S. is perfect, because we, in the past, have invaded countries too. But Russia has been doing it much longer, and their perfectionists said that. And Russians do not believe in empathy. Well, the Russian people do. But leaders, they've always been about wanting to acquire more land. They believe in their hearts that Crimea belongs to them, and nobody else should have Crimea. And they will do whatever it takes to keep Crimea, even if the Crimean people don't want that. Oh, and let's say the Ukrainians. Like, Ukrainians have their own cultures. They may be a Slavic-speaking country, but they've been trying to make Ukrainian people think, oh no, we have to be Russian. And Ukraine doesn't want that. They want to be their own country. And if you give Putin, and then she'll take a mile, he'll take the Ukraine back. He would love to. He would love to. He sees himself as an oligarch, and I hate to say it, I think Trump is just a wannabe. Like, I feel like Trump is just a wannabe, and I don't know what it is about Putin, but it's like he wants to impress Putin. Why? I don't get that he's willing to throw our allies under the bus. And I'm not pro-war, but I do believe that we should keep our strategic alliances strong and healthy, because just read history. What happened in Europe in the 1930s when you just let a little dictator do whatever he wanted to do? And he did whatever he wanted, and he conquered all of Europe and started World War II. Like, I do think this could be dangerous. I don't think it's a smart idea. Why are we simping for Trump? Not Trump, but Putin. Like, why is Trump so willing to cede our diplomacy to Putin and not talk? And if you don't want to give Zelensky more aid, that's fine, but I feel like there was a better way. Like, you didn't need to gaslight him. He's thanked the American people. He's thanked the president many times. He's not like coming in there like, you have to do this and this for me. No, he even said thank you like 5 times. And that whole conversation was gaslighting. Gaslighting. But Trump's like supporters, like they are just, it's like they are blind. It's like they don't read news articles about what's going on in the other rest of the world. They don't really care how the Ukrainians feel. I'll tell you one thing that Trump supporters don't seem to have a clue about. Russia's involvement in Syria. Because, okay, there were a lot of people that were pro-Assad. And one mistake in the past that I feel like I have learned from personally was I am part Syrian. So a few years ago, I feel like I was kind of misled by people that were pro-Assad, that didn't really care about their fellow Syrian people that were protesting and that had been hurt by that regime. Because I thought what Assad was doing was cruel, but I had some distant cousins in Syria who said, oh, well, Assad's good because he is protecting the Christians of Syria, and oh, Putin loves the Christians of Syria too. Although I didn't completely feel that was exactly accurate, but at the time I was led to believe that this must be the truth because, oh, the pro-Assad people were saying it. But Russia was super aggressive in Syria, okay? They used techniques of targeting, like bombing schools and bombing hospitals, which, like the Russians were doing there in Syria, and they are using that in the Ukraine because that's their MO, guys. That's their MO. They're not sweet, kind, tolerant people. They invaded Syria to prop up a dictator, and they had military bases in Syria. And the Syrian people didn't like that. And Assad's regime, it was brutal. It was brutal. And when you really looked into it, Assad may have been a soft-spoken ophthalmologist. He might have seemed very soft-spoken, but at the end of the day, he suppressed protests, like students protesting on campuses, okay? And I do find that interesting now that Trump's saying that he wants to make protesting illegal here in the U.S. And why? Like, the U.S. has had a long history of student protests. Like, that's part of civil liberties. That's part of the First Amendment, really. And that just sounds frightening to me. It sounds like something Putin and Assad would do. And when people had enough of Assad and Russia was tired of propping up Assad, oh no, they offered him like that he could flee to Russia. And Russia's technically slowly pulling out of Syria, but they were very aggressive in what they did in Syria. And their hand is in the pot of many Syrian people that died in that conflict. Russia has a big, big claim on that. But it was presented to people that were part Syrian in a different way. And at the time, I was like, oh, this doesn't feel quite right. And the more I read about it and thought about it, I'm like, it's not right. It's just not right. Like, you might be a Syrian, a Christian origin living in Damascus, and maybe you believe that Assad was more tolerant towards Christians. But that's not exactly true because there have always been Christians in Syria. Come on. Like, there have been times when there were conflicts between Muslims and Christians in Syria, but historically, for 1,000 years, the Christians and the Muslims lived in peace, okay? They did. And during the Ottoman times, there were Jews, Christians, and Muslims. All 3 Abrahamic religions lived in peace in Damascus. It wasn't until modern times when you had all these like other powers coming in and wanting to like control the situation. And why do you think like Russia wants to control Syria? Because it's near the Crimea. It's near Crimea, and it keeps access, and it gives them access to oil, and it provides access to the Suez Canal. Of course, like, but everybody's like simping for Trump so hard. They're like, oh, like there was a person on TikTok saying, oh, that Trump doesn't play chess like other U.S. presidents. He doesn't play checkers like other U.S. presidents. He plays chess. Well, I don't think we should gamble with our national security and support somebody who doesn't support us and doesn't, like, look, I like Russian people, but a lot of Russian people are good people, and they don't agree with what Putin's doing, and they would rather live under a democracy. And Russia has not been a democratic form of government. They had a little bit of luck or hope for that in the early 90s, but it dissipated. under Boris Yeltsin when he did that little coup and took over the government. So they really haven't had like a democratically elected government since the 90s. What they've had is like an oligarchy, and I think Trump just admires that. I think he admires what the Russians are doing, and he doesn't really like freedom of speech. He doesn't like it when people have an opinion that differ from him. Whatever. Then I want to go and protest. That's just not my cup of tea. It's a very social, extroverted thing, but it's still a First Amendment right. And he just seems very bothered anytime anybody doesn't agree with him. But what I find so interesting is all his supporters, they're like just trying so hard. They're like, oh, this is the Ukrainian people. Like some of them were on TikTok saying the Ukrainian people don't support Zelensky and they don't really want freedom. And that's not true. Like, have you talked to actual Ukrainian people? Like, they're kind of confused that the U.S. doesn't want to give them financial backing anymore. Which, okay, you don't want to, that's fine. But there is a diplomatic way of saying, you know, I think we're going to pause this because we're concerned about how much we're spending. But if that's the case, the U.S. spends a lot more money on Israel. Like, why don't we just cut all the funding to Israel, too? Like, we should have been honest about it and been like, okay, if that's what Trump truly believes, he could have just said diplomatically, we're going to cut giving aid to other countries because we're focusing on our people. I don't think it's the best move because trying to like shut down NATO and all that, but whatever. He wants to do this little game. Hopefully it'll all turn out okay. And I think it will because the Europeans are going to stick together and they're going to band together and they're going to support Zelensky. And it's a shame that our own president couldn't be diplomatic and well-spoken the way that the British are. And yeah, I prefer diplomacy and being kind and well-spoken and articulate like Obama was. I'm not a fan of this brash, just say whatever pops in your head.com, whatever. But his fan base, they will do anything. Like, they're just so big on it. Like, anything to support this man. I mean, I think people have forgotten the president is a representative of the people. When they were chastising Zelensky for not being humble, what about Trump? Has Trump ever been humble? Is Elon Musk humble? Like, anybody in his administration, are they humble? Are they out there like volunteering like Jimmy Carter did to help people build houses? Are they doing anything like that? No. Like, they're just always thinking about themselves. Like, every discussion that I hear Trump say is something about him, how he does things great, and I'm just like, I don't know. But we live in this era, I guess everybody likes this kind of brash, like, oh, it's just this brash way of being, so let them have it. I personally am not a super fan of it, but hey, people love the brash era. I love just saying mean things, and that seems to be the MO for many. It's not my MO, it's not how I'm going to live. I would just say, yeah, I feel like there's a better way to handle diplomacy. And I think a leader should be humble enough to say, aka Trump and Vance, you know, maybe we didn't handle that correctly. But if you're going to cut foreign aid to one nation, you have to do it across the board. You can't pick and choose. You can't cherry pick. So if this is the case, if we're going to cut Zelensky off, then you better cut off Netanyahu, who, like, why are we supporting Israel like that? I don't know. A lot of money, by the way. It needs to be cut off. Like, if you're saying that you're going to balance the budget, then you better balance it everywhere. But I don't know. This new era, it's not my cup of tea. I don't think it's making things better. The other thing that I think is very questionable, very, very questionable is, oh, we're going to implement tariffs and create trade wars, which creates more economic instability for the American people. But hey, you know, he's all about, like, having a good economy. This economy is beginning to go down, but everybody said it would go up during Trump, even though the economic forecast was that the economy was going to be better under Kamala Harris. A lot of people hated her, and they just didn't like her, which I thought was, like, she wasn't my favorite pick for president, okay? Like, if some other Democrat had ran that was good, I'd vote for them over her. Yes, definitely. She was not like somebody I'm like, wow, I think she's the best. But I do think she was better. I do think she was better than Trump. And I believe the economy would have been better under Trump. And if we would have had that meeting with Zelensky, it wouldn't be what it was. But a lot of people, they just love the brash. But I'm not about the brash. So I've decided there's just two different camps. There's people that just love brash. They like to say, oh, feelings don't matter. We can say whatever we want. They have some sort of emotional trauma in their lives that was inflicted upon them at a young age. So they just, that's how they deal with people. They think it's okay. And that's not how emotionally healthy people deal with people. The way that the British Prime Minister handled it is the way that it should be. And I like that over this. And that's okay. I don't have to like brash. I'm not a person that likes brash and erratic things. But hey, let's get... Everybody's like, you gotta give them a chance. Gotta give them a chance to see how the economy gets better. Okay. I'm just seeing. So let's see if trade wars and tariffs and like alienating our best ally, Canada. Canada's our best ally. So I guess alienating the Canadians is really great for our economy. Okay. Let's check back in 6 months and see how that goes. But, you know, just all this blustering and all this. I'm the kind of American who's always thought we should want to know how the international community feels about us. We should try to be nice to people. Maybe a lot of Americans don't. I know actually a lot of Americans do feel the way that I do. A lot of people do feel the way I do. But I think a lot of the people that tend to vote for Trump, there is a very isolationist like vibe in our country. And it's been ever since the beginning of time, because George Washington started that. He said we shouldn't get involved in wars of foreign entanglement, which is a big reason why we ended up being drugged into World War I and World War II. But the thought was, after that, after those wars, the U.S. kind of had a change of heart. We were like, you know, maybe that thought process wasn't the best. And I used to be kind of like feeling that way too. Like, I don't like war. I don't like needless wars. But I do believe NATO, and I believe the United Nations and all these security organizations that we have in place have helped to mitigate World War III in the last 80 years. And Europe being in peace for the last 80 years, that's been a big thing. That was a big thing. Because, you know, when they had Eurovision in 1969, that was a big deal. Because in 1969, it had only been 25 years since World War II. And that was a big deal for Europe to be in peace for the first time ever. And Europe has been in peace for like the last 80 years because of these organizations. And when I was younger, I would say, and because I'm not a big pro-war person, I do believe in peace. But if you notice, the world's at much more peace when we have organizations that try to have checks and balances and treaties and conventions where we hold each other accountable, not where, oh, one leader just is going to do whatever he wants today and play chess with our security. Like, that's just not cool. But, you know, his supporters are always going to be like, oh, it's the best. This cap is on really hard. I need to get it off. Usually I'm really good at getting caps off, but this one, it's like a challenge. I'm like, are you super glued on? I'm going to try again later. So, yeah. We live in this new era where being brash is the coolest thing. Everybody wants to be brash. Not everybody, but bold, and they don't. I just find it very regrettable. I find it a little sad. I don't know why people are so willing to like live in a bad economy or just accept a bad economy. Like when a couple months ago or 4 months ago they were like, no, we need a good economy and we're voting for a president that's going to give us a good economy. But now he's doing things that are making the economy bad. The stock market is tanking. It's like falling. His economic choices are not good ones. Like, maybe they were better 4 years ago, but I think that's because 4 years ago he didn't have people under advisement who were telling him to make these silly decisions. Like Mike Pence, I don't agree with some of his political views, but he wasn't encouraging Trump to like egg on our allies and create havoc. Like, we were much more stable 4 years ago because I think his administration wasn't off the rails like it is now. Like his new picks, because there's no continuity with this man. And you should be very questionable. You should question somebody who doesn't have continuity, that can't even have the same staff that they had 4 years ago. I would be questioning that. I'd be like, well, why? Like, if he's such a good president, why are the people that were with him 4 years ago not still with him? Because he did something that wasn't good, and we're supposed to just forget about that. That's neither here nor there, whatever. Like, we're supposed to forget about all those things he did because, yeah, whatever. Like, facts don't matter anymore. But, hey, I digress. Sometimes I'm just like, I don't want to look at the news. I don't want to watch the news, but we still need to be aware of what's going on. And I just think you should be aware of how the international community perceives the U.S. And people that care about this country know that we're part of the world. And since World War II, that's changed. We can't just be like, oh, like it's not 1940 anymore. We can't just pretend that we don't live in a world economy and put our blinders on and be like, oh, we're going to do whatever we want. Oh, how the Ukraine feels, how Europe feels about what's happening in the Ukraine, blinders. Oh, what Russia did to Syria, blinders. Never mind that he was complicit in backing up a dictator that killed thousands of people, blinders. Like, propped up a dictator. Putin's a dictator himself, blinders. Like, but Trump supports that guy, blinders. And people are like, all simping for him. Is Trump gonna be your best buddy? Is he coming in the house doing your chores? Like, he's a representative of the people. You know, I used to think, like, I wasn't the biggest fan of Bush. But I thought back then, I thought, do you think we would ever have a president that was truly not good? Because sometimes I thought some of the criticisms of Bush, like, I don't know, the Iraq War, I didn't really think that was the best move. But like how people were just so after Dick Cheney, and like that was their biggest complaint back then. It turns out that was nothing. Now you have a real loose cannon, a true loose cannon. You have a true loose cannon, and it's interesting. Like, it could always be worse, and you got worse. But everybody thinks he's the best. But, okay, we'll just give it a few more weeks. Let's see. So, he hasn't kept his campaign promise of ending the war in the Ukraine. Oh, no, sorry, bobbers. Well, he wanted to end it in that, I guess, the Ukraine was just supposed to let Russia do whatever they wanted to do. That was his solution. Oh, wow. And he also said that Gaza could be like the Riviera of the Middle East, and then it just needed to be turned into, like, hotels and casinos. Never mind, like, that the Palestinian people have lived there since the time of Christ. Just forget them. Like, they've been bombed in the ground. But, you know, he just wants to turn into casino land. Yeah, that didn't really seem very thoughtful. He doesn't care about those people and how they were displaced. Oh, nope. He just says a lot of things. Doesn't care about anybody really but himself or people that are in his circle. He cares about them, but then to me it's fickle because, okay, I was watching, because I like to look at history. I like to think Mike Pence backed him pretty hard, you know, but back then things were more stable because Mike Pence wasn't off the rails like J.D. Vance and Elon Musk and his new little backers. So back in February of 2020, when he did the State of the Union, Mike Pence was clapping for him, supporting him. And then they had a big falling out in January of 2021. You have to think about this. You have to think about this. Like, if he's such a good president, why isn't Mike Pence with him this time? You really need to ask yourself that, okay? And I don't even like Mike Pence's politics. Like, a lot of his ideas on Christianity are just not for me. They're not for me. But as a statesman, he wasn't making off the rails decisions that were going to make our, put our national security at risk, or just create, like, friction with our allies. Like, he wasn't to that degree. And he wasn't into wanting to do mass deportation. Like, just a lot of the things that Trump wants to do this time are just way out there. And he doesn't have stability. He has people that are just... Anyway, enough of that. But this is what people wanted, and they believe this is making the country better. But how is, like, creating friction with the international community, saying it's cool that Russia invades other countries, acts like a big dictator, which they have been, that's what their thing. Not the Russian people, I'm talking about Russian leaders, okay? Russian people don't even like it, but they're not allowed to say anything because, oh, you're not allowed to protest in Russia. Oh, and what is it that Donald Trump wants to implement? No protest, even though that's a First Amendment right here, but I personally don't want to go protest. I just, when I look at all this put together, I was willing to give him a chance. I thought, okay, maybe it'll be okay. I wasn't a fan of his politics, but what's so good about all this? Anyway, enough of that. Everybody thinks this is what's making our country better. I just don't think these things are making our country better, but hey, do you feel that way? I hope you're happy with the results, because I just don't think it's a good result this evening. Or, yeah, that State of the Union, it was pretty bad. It was really bad. We could have done better, but, you know, facts. They don't mean anything anymore. It's just however you want to do stuff. And if you're playing chess, you can break all the rules. Hey, you don't even have to follow the guidebook on chess now. You can just, like, you know, you want that guy's knight, you can just take it. Because there are no rules, not with them. You just do what you like. Conventions, and we're not gonna play with those, because we're just gonna support who we like. It's just, the whole thing's funny. I just don't get it, but, you know, it's whatever they want to do, I guess. It's a new fun era of brash, and brash is the way so anyway, that's what I think about politics in 2025. And then I just want to do things that make me happy. And that's cleaning my house. I love to clean. That makes me happy. I don't really want to go socialize or do a lot of things right now. Like, a couple of years ago, or even a year ago, when my sister had a little bit more time, we used to go shopping, and I don't even really miss that, because I just feel like coming home and doing introverted things is chef's kiss. And maybe that is recession core. But that's just me actually leaning back into being a homebody, because I do like going places. But I have to be honest with you. When I get a chance to just be at home, I love it. I love being at home. I love cleaning. I love cooking. I just love doing things at home. Some people just need to be out and about, but I don't need that. And that's why I always say I'm the introverted channel. Like, I talk about the bonuses of being at home and just doing your own thing and not being in social spaces. Like, sometimes I always think, like, well, here's another thing. Like, like, for me, like, I remember being a student, and I came to the conclusion, I like to study at home. And I always wonder, like, why people need to go to a public space to study, because they're always like, oh, it helps me study better. But for me, I kind of learned that it didn't, because when I'm in my own home, I can study whenever I want. Like, I can study from, like, 2 o'clock in the afternoon till midnight. I can take breaks in between. And when you're in a when you go to a public place, like, you have to get ready, you have to bring all your stuff, and it's just not comfortable, in my opinion. Like, I like being at home to study. And I feel like actually it's a very good time management tool if you can just tell yourself or teach yourself how to study or read or do things at home, because then you're able to adapt in any environment. And my mom actually gave me a really good piece of advice. She said that she was able to study in high school and get straight A's at home with all of her siblings making lots of noise. And she had to cook and clean the entire house, but whenever she had free time, she would sit at the kitchen table and she would study. And she said she became really good at just tuning out what was going on around her. Because I thought about it. I'm like, some people, they go to public spaces and the thought was, oh, it's like quieter, but sometimes it's not. Like cafes, if you go to Starbucks, I just don't think that's a quieter place to study, really. But I just like being at home, like in my free time. That's just my take. Like, I like to be at home. I don't have a need to be out and about with, yeah. So I will still do things like and go places, but maybe it's better that this economy is the recession economy. I don't know why everybody's wanting a recession so bad. I know, like, there's decisions being made, but I just think, why is it people are wanting that? Like, I don't know. It's like not romantic. It's not nostalgic. I almost think people are having nostalgic feelings for a recession. It's interesting. But another thing I do find also funny is right now people are like criticizing other people for overconsumption. Like, this is happening again. We're like, oh, that is overconsumption. How dare you? Okay. Guys, do you know who the biggest demographic of overconsumption was? Baby boomers. Like, they are, a lot of baby boomers love to hoard things. They love to keep lots of objects that they never use that are still just living in their garage. Like, you go to any baby boomer's garage and it's stocked full of things. In fact, I could just walk down any street and there was this person, their garage was just filled with stuff. Filled to the gills. Kind of reminds me of my dad. You can't even put a vehicle in there anymore. Are they using all those things? Because I want to tell you something. The baby boomer generation love to acquire things, and they love to mass donate things, like when they have to move to a smaller space. Like, they are the big advocates of that. They're the big, always having to donate stuff. So I don't think this current generation is over consuming like that. The baby boomers, they did it hardcore because they were into hoarding, and a lot of baby boomers, hoarding was like actually kind of, it was encouraged. And I really hate hoarding, like when people start stacking things and there's just a whole bunch of stuff going on. I'm like, no. I love like a lot of decorations and things, but hoarding, no. So I don't think some like millennial or Gen Z person that got sent some makeup or might buy several shampoos is over consuming if they're using all those things. Now, if they had a whole house full of shampoo and they couldn't walk through the aisles of their house, then yeah. But if you're worried about overconsumption, maybe you should go talk to your grandparents and see what they have in their garage, because they probably overconsume. And they probably have things they'll never use that are just sitting in there. And that is part of the reason I don't want to just buy things to buy them, because that's what overconsumption is. Personally, like, yeah, maybe we could all buy less things, but going on the TikToks and telling some influencer that they're over-consuming and how dare they. I mean, if you want to talk to somebody about over-consuming, like, why don't you go talk to Elon Musk? I don't know. Or just somebody like that, like that is a billionaire. Like, just leave the influencers alone. And they're not even like the rich, like super rich ones. I'm just seeing like little hair talk people that they might have 1 million or 2 million followers, but they're not wealthy. Like, you can tell they're not multi-millionaires. They're not flaunting their jet set lifestyle. Like, this girl was simply saying that she bought a set of Redken shampoo that was like $50 total. And she said it was kind of bougie, kind of expensive, but for her it was worth it because it made her feel better when she washed her hair. Oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Okay, so yeah, I don't usually buy expensive shampoo like that either, but Like, she was using it. It was literally something that this woman was using. Like, she liked it. She was using it. And it was only $50-something. There's people on TikTok that are talking about buying like thousands of dollars worth of handbags and cars and things like that. And you're going after some influencer that bought shampoo that you think is too pricey. Well, just don't buy the shampoo she bought. It's that simple. Like, if you think she spent too much money on shampoo, you don't have to buy that one. You could buy the other one. And it's actually funny that people are getting mad at her, because a lot of people on Hair Talk buy those Redken shampoos. I personally just don't, because I'm not going to spend that much money. I don't want to do Dollar Tree shampoo and conditioner, though, just because I found they leave my hair tingly. But I do love gardening. I'm gardening. So I'm kind of like, when it comes to shampoo and conditioner, I want to spend a little bit more money for a product that I feel will keep my hair detangled. But when it comes to the Dollar Tree, I will tell you, I love the personal care detangling spray, and that thing's $1.25, and it has dimethicone in it, which I just find is really good for detangling your hair. I'm soaking a shirt that I got some spaghetti sauce on. So I don't like that my washing machine doesn't have a soak cycle on delicate. The old one did, but this one is like, it will not let you select a soak cycle. So I put on heavy duty for a soak cycle, but then I turned it off because I don't want it to do a heavy duty wash. I literally just want it to soak the item. So I'm going to leave it in there for a while, and then I'll wash it later. Okay, so we should just be in the era of being happy. Whatever, who cares about the politicians? I guess I kind of do agree with my sister on that. I'm not a fan of what they're doing, but still, like, I loved following, because I majored in history, and I always loved following current events. So for me, it's just kind of hard to, like, stop having an interest in the world. It's just hard for me to stop having an interest in, like, what's happening in the news. And I know a lot of people like, oh, but you should, like, I'm not going to, like, make it my whole identity or anything, but it's hard for me to stop having an interest in things. That's just my thought. I think you should still be interested in what's happening in the world and how we're perceived internationally, because that's actually important. We're not living in 1940. We can't just be like, oh, it's whatever we want to do. Like, who cares about our historic allies and presidents and diplomacy? We're just going to do what we want today. Like, that's just not realistic, my view. But, you know. And I'm always going to do these little cleaning videos and talk, because I do that kind of thing. Anyway, thanks for watching.